Welcome to the Beauty Pro Wellness Podcast, the podcast that mixes wellness with personal development tips and info specifically for beauty industry professionals. I'm your host, Abby O'Sullivan, a longtime esthetician and lash artist turned wellness coach. With burnout and health issues on the rise amongst my beauty pro friends, I know we need a space to come together, to learn, support each other, and get the push you need to take care of your health. Together, we'll dive into topics like mobility training for a less achy body, managing stress and the chaos of running a business and handling clients, setting up your self-care routines, and so much more. You deserve to feel as good as your clients do when they leave you. Let's make time for you, starting with this podcast. Welcome back to the Beauty Pro Wellness Podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm your host, Abby O'Sullivan, and today I'm airing a conversation that I had via Instagram Live. You know, I had several conversations via Instagram Live, and I wanted to put them on the podcast as an episode. Today's conversation is about outsourcing, automations, delegation, to take some of those busy work tasks off your plate so you can focus on what you like doing in your business, what you're good at, where you need to be, and so you can make room to grow if that's what you want. So I'm having a conversation with my pal, Maleah Wininger. She is the owner of Killer VA. She loves working on the behind the scenes stuff like websites and helping you set up your systems and processes so that your business runs more efficiently or the way that you want. She has been a hairstylist and also managed a team of women in a lash salon. And she has always loved working behind the scenes on those systems and getting things automated in a way that makes the business run really smoothly. And I love that she has taken that and turned it into a business. You know, I just love when people pivot and they're doing the things that they love. Like you went from one thing that you love to the next thing that you love. But if the audio quality isn't as good, it's just because it was on Instagram Live. Go connect with Maleah on Instagram at killerva.maleah, and I will have her Instagram and her website in case you were needing some of her services. I'll have it linked in the show notes for you. Enjoy this conversation with Maleah Wininger. I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank
so
you.
we can
To be here.
talk about outsourcing, delegation, automations, which they really come in like so many different levels. And you being a virtual assistant, like I know you're going to have some good advice on that and just give everybody basically like why we should be doing this. But first, I would love for you to just give us a little bit of your background. I didn't have time to go through your bio. I got on so quick, which is great. I just use it to kill time whenever I'm trying to do the things. So go ahead and just give us like the rundown of Maleah.
Yeah, so I've been in the beauty industry since 2015, jumped right into hair school, and I did hair for a good while. I think that I just really realized the lash industry has a different community and support system that I really admire and love, and I dove heads first into that. While I was doing hair, I did management. I did everything from like taking inventory, managing employees, client relations. I was the receptionist. I did like literally everything. And then with my management job, once I started lashing again, it was a lot more like back end and doing the automations and the online stuff, which is where I really kind of fell in love with it. I just didn't ever realize that doing that for other people could be a job too, until I did the lash and I met you, and like I'm talking to all these different people, and I was like, holy smokes, like there's a whole new like side of the world for me. So that's how I got into VA, and I still lash part-time because I'm just a creative person. I love it. So
yeah, I love it. Yes, the virtual assistant, well, it's like a really broad, that's like the umbrella term,
right?
Because like the more I learn about, obviously everyone, like some people have their niche, and like I've done social media management, and I'm like, okay, I'm cool on clients with that because like it's a lot of brain power.
Yeah.
And I do the lash part-time. Like I'm going to be getting into a little bit of podcast editing, which I do on my own, but just via like my sister having a business
where she does that. And I'm like, I'm gonna have some time. Like I could do that too. And just like kind of having all these different outlets for energy and know-how. And I love working from home.
Yeah.
So so, okay, so let's dive in. So you realize that you like all of these systems and the automations and decided to go into business for yourself. But have you experienced, like in any time in your career, like have you experienced like burnout or just feeling like really, I mean, I know we've kind of talked about it
Yeah.
before, but
Yeah, I feel like burnout for me is always it's like a balancing act. I've always been someone that, especially in my hair career where I was working like 70 hours a week, I really attached my identity to work. And so more recently, I feel like I've been going through the process of like trying to detach from that and not being a workaholic, because it creates some serious burnout and it's not fun to go through. So yeah, I've definitely experienced it. Not it obviously nobody loves it, but you kind of have to like, and like we've talked about this before, like figure out your own ways and what your body needs to kind of pull yourself out of that.
yeah, I think touching on the identity piece and attaching it to your work, and not just like as a workaholic, but like, I mean, there was a point where I was like, well, what else can I be besides a lash girl? You know, like everyone's lash person, like just having that so strongly attached to like, that's all I am, that's all I do, and I'm just like obsessed with it, and that's great. But and I am like that with a lot of things. So I also have to watch kind of that balance of energy and just really like attaching my worth or like, you know, how productive was I today or whatever, how good of a job did I do? So I think there's a lot to be said for that, because when you do that a lot, even that creates burnout. You know, you just get like mentally get so fried.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I feel like it's just a balancing act. I feel like
Yeah.
through walking on a tightrope and figuring out what you need. And no, you're so right. Like how to like detach yourself from like your identifying your self-worth through your work and how productive you are. It can be hard, especially in like the hustle culture that we live in today. I very much dislike like the hustle culture
Yeah.
because it's not healthy, it's not sustainable. And if like you as a human can't sustain that, how is your business, like how can you like continue to pour into watering this little plant that is your business? You know, it's got to be sustainable.
Yeah, exactly. That is a beautiful, perfect way to put it. And I always like to think like, listen, if we're going to do hustle, it's a season.
Hmm.
It's not sustainable. It is a season. You can push for a little bit and you can still take care of yourself, even if it's the most basic sense in those times, but it can't last for years and years and years. That's why we have so many health issues, but
Yeah.
another conversation for another day. So speaking of that, like how can we, you know, take some of these tasks? How can we start to take some tasks off of our plate? Like, what could that even look like? But first, what are some of the tasks that, like, a VA, a virtual assistant, could help people with?
Yeah, so the bulk of, because I work mostly with like service providers and lash artists, I feel like the bulk of what I do for my clients and what I feel like I've seen is a need in the industry is like a lot of people don't like the creation of graphics for social media. They like a lot of I know people that are coaches that are like, I love to coach and to teach, but I'm not the creative. So help me create. Yeah.
I used to just like
Yeah.
take it out of my brain.
Like, so I'll have my clients just like word dump onto a Google Doc, and we'll like they break it up into like the separate posts, and then I create it for them. Obviously, if any edits need made, I feel like that's like one of the biggest things that I've noticed people are asking. And then a lot of like email automations and nurturing your
Mm,
email list.
so good. Yeah.
Yeah. And also, I mean, like, yes, we live in a really we're blessed to live in this world where tech is so big, but there's also the people that are like, I have no freaking idea what I'm doing. So
Oh,
a
yeah.
lot of website edits, and again, like the email automations and like setting up all these different like things that it's really tedious, but like setting them all up and going through all of them so that things are working smoothly, I feel like can be very time consuming. And that's like also probably one of the top things that I work with my clients with.
Yeah. I can't tell you how many times I've cried over trying to figure out some sort of website, domain name, email connection thing.
Yeah.
Meltdowns, man. Meltdowns.
Yes, all different too. Doesn't make it easier.
But it's like, at least, it's for someone else. I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny. And like what I really like to stress about finding ways to outsource and delegate is it's like it's not that you can't learn how or can't take care of these things, but it's like when you're a business owner, you have so many things that you're already taking care of, and simply outsourcing some of it, any of it, can help you focus on where you are really good at or where you're really needed, which is like with your clients, which is maybe more networking events or developing, something like a course or product or wherever like you want to put your energy towards. That is what delegating and outsourcing and automations, I especially love mentioning like the email sequence.
Yeah.
It's so great because a lot of like booking systems, and I think, well, definitely email like CRMs or whatever, a lot of that stuff can be taken care of, but even just like helping people in the back end of their booking system, like take care of all of those tasks so that their customers get that good follow-up. But it just allows you really to like use your energy and your time towards either something in your business or, I don't know, having a life.
Yeah. Yes. I was gonna say, I feel like a lot of delegation is really just like identifying what you like doing, and also B, prioritizing where you're needed most, and doing those small, tiny little nitty gritty tasks. As a business owner, your time is valuable, and you could be like working on something like a course to be making more money rather than spending that time doing the like nitty gritty things that obviously still need to be done, but it's just like a prioritization of where you're needed exactly.
Yeah, that's what's so amazing about the virtual assistant world is, I mean, there are people to do literally anything for you. It's so great. And I think also outsourcing on like different levels is like, even like today, I went and picked up my groceries instead of going into the store. And that's not like full on outsourcing, but it definitely saves me time. I'm just like, tap the app, I go sit there, 5 minutes later, they come out and I'm off. Or having them delivered, which, is usually like a little bit of a charge or something like that. You're paying a little bit for having your time where you don't even have to get out and go do that. I live like 5 minutes away. So I'm like, surely I can get my ass in the car and go to the grocery store. But, that, or hiring coaches, therapists, I don't know if therapist is really like outsourcing, but sort of hiring a personal trainer, or even as an esthetician, if you have laundry, like having your laundry sent out so that you don't have to do it. There's so many different ways, even just simply like hooking up your online booking system. So as people maybe are watching this and they're thinking like, oh my gosh, like, is there something that I could be doing? Or is there something that I am doing that maybe I don't have to be doing?
Yeah.
What are some of but maybe they don't have a big budget for, like maybe they're not really like, I'm building a course and I have all these like things I need done. What are some of the more like entry level beginner, like outsourcing type tasks that you would suggest?
Yeah, I feel like beginner level outsourcing, obviously, I feel like it depends on like what they're working on clearly and their goals for their business. I feel like everyone knows Canva. Canva makes things so easy when you're going to create your graphics for things. And also they've got like tons of videos online of how to do things. Another thing I really love too is like MailChimp. MailChimp is like a one-stop place to like, you can create a landing page or create like a small little website. If it's just for something small, like they have all of the tools that kind of like will pull, they call it like Smart Assistant. It pulls like photos from your Instagram and like that they've noticed like linked up with your business name. And
I have not used MailChimp in a hot minute.
Yeah.
So this is fascinating.
It's cool. It's cool. You do like the free version obviously doesn't have quite as much of like the good stuff, but I think it's like the beginner package that's not the free version is like $13 a month. And there you can, like do the Smart Assistant with your email creation, make it branded, looking cute. You just have to enter like obviously the content, and then you can start automating and scheduling your emails through there. That's another one that I really love for just like ease of use, if that's what you're looking for when like obviously like creating something that's you're not 100% sure what you're doing. It helps a lot.
Yeah, I love that. And these email automations are something that can really impact your business because you can, like you have already mentioned, like you can nurture your clientele like when they're not in your room too. And I'm thinking like online booking, everyone really knows about that. It's so funny because when I started in 2008, I would go to Staples and I would get like the appointment books.
Yes.
And like write it out, and like you have the pencil and the eraser, and like God forbid you make a mistake and like don't write something, but it's the same thing, you know, not putting it in the system.
Totally.
What else was I thinking? Even putting your regularly needed supplies on like subscription so that you're not having to expend mental energy. I mean, like Amazon, but a lot of the lash brands I think have that. Some of them have a subscription based, like I think ordering, at least for adhesive.
I think so. Yeah, a lot of them do.
I only order from one, and like I don't really do the ordering, so so I'm like I know there's a couple people that do that. But I think stuff like that is something really simple too. But I do love email because it's just like a level up, and I think that's something that people should look into. And then like, what do you suggest? Well, I don't know. I mean, you're probably like, just hire me to help you with your website. But is there a platform that, well, so here's a thing that I think that I have dealt with this, and I like Wix as a platform. It's very like drag and drop, very easy. Yeah. But I don't really love, given what I know now, I don't really love that like once everything is there, when you stop subscribing, you kind of just lose everything. So if you start subscribing to any of their add-ons, it's like what happens to that after you stop subscribing? And it's been a few years, so maybe some of that stuff has changed. And I know people like Squarespace and all of that. So aside from somebody's booking site, which do usually host a website, what are your thoughts on websites? And do you think that people like need them? And what are some of the suggestions that you would give to somebody who's like, oh my God, I need a website, or do I need a website, or like whatever?
Yeah. I think websites are really, really good to like introduce your brand and be able to give like a clear message of like who you are and like how you specifically run your business and what you believe in. Because I'm also a person of like when you're attracting your dream client, I feel like you do a lot of that attraction through what wording and what you offer through your website. So I think websites are good. I obviously like if someone's like wanting to carry their own product line or is, you know, like what do they call it? I guess we'll call it like a brand ambassador of someone who offers retail of another lash brand. Like obviously you need those things, but I feel like having a website is good, especially for like attracting your dream clientele and being able to show what your business is. And especially on the other hand of like coming from management, it's a good way to attract your dream employee as well, because the employee is going to look at everything and be able to know like, okay, I think I would be a good fit there. And it kind of helps mitigate the huge, long interview process. Having the website, if that makes sense.
No, it totally does. And I hadn't really thought about that. And what I do think about as a consumer as well is I'm somebody who looks at all of the things.
Me too, yeah.
And it's not just your Instagram page. And I don't necessarily want to scroll through to like learn about something unless it's really obvious.
Right.
So I love being able to go to I might be like a little judgy on the website, but that's because I've seen a lot of them, and I'll just be really amazed at like, okay, like we could do some help with this. Oh,
right.
Was that my phone?
No, that was me. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I was like, what's going on? But yeah, I think about that from the consumer side too. Like if you have an FAQ or if you have different pictures, being able to showcase that in one place is really nice. But I really hadn't thought about that as an employee either. It's been a while since I looked for a job, but I'm definitely a website looker, you know?
Yeah. Well, I think also on another note too with that is like, if you're offering any specials or anything for your clients and you want to push like a lead magnet of any sort, you can really direct people through your website so that you can get more traction with those kinds of things too.
Absolutely. Yeah, and then capture their email and start them on a whole like sequence, which is kind of like segues into the next question. As you're growing and you're thinking about scaling in like whatever way, maybe it's a line or you're adding team members or a course, what are some of the delegations or automations that you think are really good for them to consider?
Well, I think that sometimes the delegations aren't quite, or like outsourcing isn't quite just VA. That I've noticed like a lot of people, like it depends where they're at in their growth and what their goals are. I feel like a lot of times I do end up recommending people get like an online business manager or a business coach or a copywriter. But when it comes to like automations, I feel like definitely like hiring management within your salon can really help with like delegating some of the tasks that happen within the salon. There's certain levels in business where you have to start delegating to management and someone in-house, and then there's the level where like you have to start delegating to someone online and like pushing the online automations through there. If people are trying to grow their salon, I feel like really just hiring management and someone to like keep on top of inventory and keep on top of, like getting back to phone calls, answering messages and stuff like that. Like it just depends on where they're at and where they're going specifically.
Do you have anything that you kind of like push off your plate and let somebody else take care of?
Right now, no, because I'm still like part-time lashing. I really only take like a certain set amount of clients and they're all pretty consistent. So I never really have to worry about like the booking thing. I don't have like my own product line or anything. Yeah, I just do everything myself at this point because I started my business back in November. So things are still pretty new. I feel like I'm still like the last couple months been down in the trenches of like redoing everything from when I first started. So I've just been doing it all myself. But I honestly, like I said, like I'm a lash artist. I love doing nitty gritty, tedious little things. So it translates so well with VA to be able to like, I don't mind doing it all myself because it's all stuff that I enjoy doing.
Yeah, I totally get that. And then just being in the trenches, like redoing stuff, I'm like, yeah, definitely have been there.
Yeah.
Like, just fine tuning, like how many times have I redone my portfolio? Like, I've had so many different versions of websites. And it's funny because I have like a love-hate relationship. I used to kind of enjoy tinkering around with it. I spent a lot of my time in the pandemic shutdown, like messing around with my website. Like I probably could have been doing something like a little bit more aimed towards like making money. I don't know.
Oh, no, you're totally fine. Laughing because when we were in lockdown, I was still doing hair, and I remember like clients texting me and I was like, I'm really sorry, like we're still not open, I'll get back to you like when it happens. I didn't do anything like that during lockdown.
I had worked in a gym. I had worked in a couple of gyms, so I was already like a personal trainer. I hadn't started nutrition coach certification yet. So I was like in this place, I had been filming, and this is like a total side tangent, but like I said, I like to keep things conversational, but I was mid recording a lot of exercise movements in the gym. I have so many videos of movements, just like, lateral raise, shoulder press, like whatever. And I was making a whole workout for lash bosses. And then, but it was gym based.
Yeah.
And then we got shut down and I was like, well, F that.
Yeah. You can't really
I would have to record all of it at home.
Oh no.
And I'm sure that I could have, but it just like there were bigger things on people's mind at the time. And so did I. I had different things on my mind at the time as well. And it just kind of felt like, well, that's kind of pointless now. No one's gonna care. And like, bleh. But I also have started to recognize this thing in myself that I kind of just really like to create. And when it is something that I really, really, really love, I will probably stick with it. But sometimes I tend to create different versions of the same things, which is interesting because I'm like, is this like a block I need to work through? Or do I just like to come up with shit and then maybe do a little something with it and then find somebody else that will like maybe run with it, or maybe it just never goes anywhere. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. But that's why having some of this, the outlet for social media management is kind of fun, because it kind of gives me like a little bit of that, the variety, or just kind of doing something different. And because I am full currently, I'm just like, I'm good with what I have so that I can still focus on like my coaching business and all of that too. But it's an interesting thing, like as a creative. I think that's what's so fun about lashes too, is it's kind of the same, but kind of different, because when they come back in for a fill, like, what are their lashes gonna look like?
How many times do they wash them? Do they have any?
Yeah, like, are they going to want a different style today? Like, are we going to talk about this? It's so interesting. And I'm sure doing hair too is like really interesting that way too. You're kind of always just getting a variety.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's where my brain thrives, is in variety of things, because I'm very, very ADHD. And so I like at all times have multiple tabs open, but I do like the variety.
In your mind or on your computer, or both?
Oh, both.
Right?
Yeah. But lashes is cool in the way that like I feel like I can hyper focus, because my ADHD will let me like really hyper focus in on something until it's like almost a minute of like, okay, Maleah, you need to just pause, take a step back. It doesn't have to be perfect, because that's always my issue. I notice with things is like I tend to overthink things and hyper focus on things, and then I never start it because I'm like, well, that's just too much.
Yeah. I mean, I bet so many people can relate, and the perfectionism thing and that hyper focus and like overthinking. And then it's like, yeah, it just becomes overwhelming. And like you said, so we either never start, or like for myself, sometimes there's like a story there too. And I'm like, whoa, like, never mind. But yeah, I feel like I've gotten to the point with lashes where I'm like, which my fills don't really take. I mean, I think my max that I really like to spend with people is about 1 hour and 15. And then I'm like ready to go. I'm like ready to move.
Like, I need water.
Yeah. And like, they don't always take that long. And, and sometimes like some days you're just kind of chilling. You can like keep looking and keep looking. It kind of just depends on like what mood I'm in. But I don't know. I've been doing this for a long time. So about like an hour, and I'm like, all right, bye.
Yeah.
Let me get up and like move a little bit.
I'll be back. Yeah. I feel like I try and do that, like, because you do a lot of like wellness with like movement and moving your body. And I feel like that's a really good thing though to do, is like get up and stretch. Like I do that at least 2 times during my appointment. I feel like sometimes I don't even tell my clients. I just get up and walk away, and I'm like, I'll be right back. Like, I just need to stretch.
Oh my gosh, you're amazing. I love that. That's bold, because usually once I'm there, I'm there. But I will schedule like 15 minutes in between clients to just kind of like move around.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I generally try to. I learned that lesson, I feel like time and time again, where I'm just like, stop booking people so freaking close, dude. Like sometimes I love, you're just like bang, 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 get them like over with.
Yeah.
So you can, sometimes I only have like 3 clients and I'm like, cool, done. In like 3.5, 4 hours.
Hmm.
But when I've had busier times and like really wanted it to be a bigger part of my life, I had to like really set those times in. And even now I'm just like, man, I just don't really want to sit that long consecutively.
Hmm.
But then at home, it's very different. I don't know if you get like this when you're at home working. Have you ever just been like you're working on your like VA tasks and like 3 hours goes by and you're like, what the hell?
No, yeah.
I haven't even moved.
Our brains are on the same track there, because I was just about to bring that up. Like, it translates so differently to me working like lashing and then working from home, because lashing, I have really good boundaries of like, okay, I'm going to take a break. I'm going to get up and take a break. Like, and it also helps me detach from like my hyper focus of like this tiny little lash, like, but
Mhm.
working from home, and I talk to my best friend about this all the time. I'm like, I need to like remember to go to the bathroom. I struggle to take breaks, drink water. Like, I don't eat lunch sometimes. I'm like, where has the time gone? It's dark outside.
It is nuts how fast the time can go by.
Oh yeah.
I've gotten like quite a bit better because it took me a while to adjust when I started working from home more. It took me a while to adjust to like I never really worked an 8 to 5, so I don't even know why I had that in my head. Maybe like a 9 to 6,
Hmm.
but I haven't for a really long time. And before I shut my own lash studio down, I was working 2 days a week. So I don't know why this like felt like such a big adjustment, but I'm like, you don't have to work till 5 if your work is done.
Yeah.
You don't have to force yourself to keep sitting here. If you like hyper focused and got it done, you can, or you have time tomorrow, like you can get up and go take your walk now, Abby. You can go, like you can lay on the floor and meditate if you want.
Yeah.
And that was a really interesting season and like really full of learning and just I don't know, very enlightened by that whole thing. Like, wow, okay, but this really does help me and it helps me like restore my juices, and my energy. And
Yeah.
that's why I talk about a lot of the things that I talk about now, because it really just made such a difference for me in my mental and emotional, like physical well-being to take the
Yeah.
time for that stuff. And things that of course, I've learned so much over my lash career. There's so many things that I like wish I knew to take the time for then.
Hmm.
Maybe my body wouldn't have broken down the way it did, or like I wouldn't have had meltdowns or wanted to just burn my business down 100 times,
Right.
But yeah, it's such an interesting like change of pace when you don't really have somebody else there and like an appointment in time. You're just kind of like like in the twilight zone.
Yes.
My sister and I talk about it a lot too, because I'll be like, oh my God, this day went by so, how is it 3 o'clock?
Right. Right.
It's nuts. But, I mean, if you're really like having a time with that, like maybe a little timer on your phone too, just like a little ding, 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 like
Yes.
drink, drink some water.
Water does help.
Yeah, like get up a little bit. Like I'm sure you'll get better because I know it definitely it took me a little bit of time to break away from like being on the grind, like making myself sit at my computer. But I also am like, listen, if you're really into the work you're doing, it's gonna happen sometimes.
Hmm.
I mean, there's really nothing wrong with
No.
that
Yeah.
as long as like as long as you still feel
Yeah.
good. As long as you're still taking care of yourself, which brings me to one of my last questions is, do you have some like self-care slash wellness activities that you're like currently working on to kind of work into your day, like based on this discussion of being really passionate about what you do?
Yes. Well, I feel like a lot of my problem too is like I live in a basement apartment, and like my window over here is the largest window in my house. So I'm kind of, but it's also in my bedroom. So I'm in my bed right now, and I'm stuck in bed literally all day. So been a really, really weird transition to like like I have 2 days a week where I do get up and I get ready and I talk to people. And then there's other days where I wake up and I'm like, grab my laptop, let's go to work.
This is it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, I do the same thing. It's usually my Mondays. And I kind of love it. That's the freedom that we get.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's I'm like, I had to leave the house, so I'm not wearing pajama pants, but
Yes. Yeah.
it's balanced out by the fact that you go to do lashes, you know?
Yeah. I honestly, like, I don't think that I would be able to survive without those currently, my little lash days, because I am a very introverted person, but I also do really, really need the social aspect. I think also because I did hair for so long where, you know, you're entertaining someone, like one person for 4 to sometimes like 8 hours if you're doing a huge project. So it's like I was talking to people so much and getting so much interaction that I think like right now in my adjustment period, I definitely need it. Yeah, as far as like self-care lately, I like getting as much sunshine as possible, making sure I eat lunch, and then I've actually like recently just making sure I go to the gym. Like I've been going like 5 times a week, which is a huge change, but also at the same time, like I didn't realize how needed it was until after I started doing it. And I didn't go to the gym yesterday. I was like, today feels weird. But it really, really like, and I think that's why I love like so much of what you post and like moving your body and like staying active and like listening to yourself and what you need. Like I don't feel like I ever really correlated like my mental health to how little I was doing physically.
Yeah, totally. And I don't even ask that question to like put anybody on the spot. I'm genuinely just really curious, like what people do. And we all have our different ways, and I like to highlight that for anybody that's watching and just kind of looking for some inspiration and like, I don't know, sometimes just permission to like go ahead and do that, you know?
No, I honestly like I probably wouldn't have ever agreed with anyone telling me like a year ago saying like just go get exercise. I was always that person that's like, yeah, exercise is what's gonna make me feel good. Like I'm gonna hate it.
I broke up just a little bit, like when you were saying that, which sucks, but I kind of got the gist of like breaking up like energy, anything like even negative, like breaking up your day. Yes.
Just like
I mean, totally. I mean, there's definitely been like I have worked some shit out in the gym before. If you've and like it doesn't, I don't care if you're strength training or not. If you have a medicine ball, like one of the ones that are big and they don't bounce, like slam balls.
Yes.
If you do some ball slams, some medicine ball slams, that like you can just imagine whatever you're angry about on the floor, use that as your target.
Fuck it.
I literally remember times that I have just been like, like taking my rage out on this poor medicine ball, but it really helps to kind of move some stuff out. But that's not what we came to talk about delegations, Abby. Listen, outsource your gym workouts, hire a personal trainer, an online coach. Just let them do that for you. If you don't know what you're doing, that's another way that you can outsource. Like you don't have to think about that stuff if you don't want to. Somebody else can make that plan. You can buy programs online. You can look anything up on YouTube. And I always just ask questions, you know?
Oh yeah. I feel like there's no dumb question on the planet.
Right?
You don't know it.
Yeah, exactly. Like just because we live in this super tech friendly world doesn't mean you can't have questions about like, you know, how do I start an email account? I would love to know what do you get most excited about in your work?
I think the creative portion of things I really, really love. Like I love working with the bigger businesses that are creating courses and scaling and growing because I love the nitty gritty stuff. But I also I'm endlessly passionate just about helping people and like, especially the small guy who's like, they're in like the beginning stages of things. Like I really love the creation of just creating graphics for social media and like creating the email automations. I feel like it sounds dumb, but I guess to put it simply, just like helping people. I think that's my favorite thing to do is just to be able to help people. Coming from being a service provider and like being that nurturing person, and then also like I just love helping people. So like I love doing all the small nitty gritty things, and like super exciting for businesses that are a little bit bigger and they're like creating new courses and all of that. I do love that nitty gritty, but also at the same time, I love helping like the smaller businesses who all they need is like a graphic created and like a couple things set up on their website. Like I still really love doing that kind of stuff because like everyone gets their start somewhere.
Yeah.
And I like being a little piece of their puzzle.
Yeah. It's really cool to help like support someone's dream.
Yeah.
I think that's so cool.
Yeah.
Do you have anything that you're like working on that you're super excited about, or like what are you really just kind of looking forward to most in your sort of short-term future here?
I'm excited I'm working on a new website.
Yeah.
As we were talking at the beginning of this, I was like, oh God, my old website is like so basic. I just like set it up as quick as I could before LashCon. Now I'm in the phase of like redoing it. And so I'm really excited to get that up and running and like just kind of revamp my business now that I've been in it for a few months, like recognizing where I need to make changes and like just like get things flowing smoothly and automated for myself so that I don't do much work.
Was there anything like that we didn't cover that you wanted to kind of speak to on like outsourcing or delegation?
Yeah, I think just the one thing, because like I worked in management and then also like passed off my management duties, when it comes to delegating, especially as a business owner and like having full control, I feel like the hardest thing for people while they're delegating is learning to let go of the control. So I'd say just like start with small things. And I feel like as like the person that you are delegating to learns more about like what you're looking for and like just being open and clear with communication of what you're looking for, I feel like it makes it a bit like easier for them to learn exactly what you're looking for. So there's less room for A, error, B, frustration on both parties, but just like start with something small and then work up to bigger things once you kind of have like built that like understanding and like they learn about what you're looking for. I think really that's just like dip your toes into the water of delegation, and then you'll realize like, oh my gosh, I'm going to take this Saturday off.
Yeah.
So that, I mean, live your life. You really deserve to live your life, and delegation like A is important for your business to run smoothly, but B, you want to live your life and also like you don't want to go crazy. So yeah.
That is such a beautiful point of like being able to let go just a little bit at a time, because I know like so many people that have such a hard time with that, even just like trying to hire somebody, which so many, obviously, like I understand why, but I love that point. And then just also thinking about it kind of like co-creation too, like having that open line of communication, not being afraid to say like, can we try it this way? Or what do you think about this? And really using that person for their knowledge and experience and kind of just trusting, and I mean, do your due diligence whenever you're going to hire somebody too.
Absolutely. But having that, I don't know, like open, clear, and honest, and obviously respectful conversation, I feel like really builds the trust between you and the person that you're delegating. And like, at least for me, when someone's delegating to me, like I'm the perfectionist. I tend to be a people pleaser, but like I need tons of details because I want it to be what you're looking for. And like, I think that really does help aid in the scariness of letting go of control, is like giving as many details as possible makes you feel more comfortable, makes them feel more prepared to complete the task that you're looking for too.
Yes, totally agree. Oh, the whole brainstorming aspect of having somebody that is creative, like especially when you have your mind on a lot of other things, having that outside perspective too is it's so fun. It's so valuable. Like will make you feel more creative. It helps it makes you like as a service provider also feel good that you could, help stir that up and like get some clarity and get some ideas flowing. Cause sometimes people just like maybe they kind of know what they want, but they don't know how to verbalize it, or they never thought about it like this way,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe they feel really seen in like what you're doing for them. And that's just gratifying for everyone. It's just so nice as a business owner, and especially when you're solo, but even I'm sure even when you're managing a team, like it can be very lonely, and it can feel like you are just like literally doing it all yourself. You're in the trenches alone, and maybe your partner doesn't even understand because they don't understand Lash Talk.
Right.
But like having somebody there to help you with some of these creative tasks, it's just nice. It's not, like necessarily like full on therapist or anything like that, but it can feel like it sometimes.
Oh, and I feel like that's my favorite thing of like, because this is, I guess, like my first time really actually owning my own business. Like I've booth rented, but it's not really anything compared to what like opening my own business for virtual assisting has been. And like, I've always been the right hand man and been that person and like, yeah, let's do it. Let's go. But yeah, adjusting from being like, now I understand of like feeling like business can be a little bit lonely, but you're right, Liv. I think that when you have someone else to bounce ideas off of, like it can kind of like refill your cup and reignite your passion for the things that when you're feeling burnt out and like you'd rather die than think about that one thing. Like I feel like it can really
like posting on social media, making my website work.
Yeah. I feel like it can really help just to have like just like a sounding board or like a little here for someone who like even if you're not my client, like just like message me. I'm here. We're all
That's so sweet. Oh my gosh. Well, this was so great. Thank you so much for your time and your knowledge in sharing like your experience and expertise in this. And I'm so excited on like on a personal level. I'm also just really excited for you. And I love this. And I'm so glad that you found like, I don't know, just a new way to fill your own cup. And that also brings in some money, honey.
Right. Thank you so much for having me. Like I said, this was my first Instagram live. I won't lie. I was like peeing my pants right before, but I was you. I'm so glad because I feel like you've always been just like, you're always just a very like open, accepting and like welcoming person. And I really appreciate having me. I had such a
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I know I'll see you around the Instagrams. Maybe I'll see you at LashCon. And I'm sure I'm either going to make you come on my podcast at some point and talk about this again or have another live or something. So y'all, everyone can go follow Maleah, and I will also put like, I'll tag you on all of that in the show notes in the caption.
Sounds good. I love it.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a good rest of your day.
I'll see you.
Yes. I'll catch you in the DMs.
Sounds good. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning into the Beauty Pro Wellness Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, hit subscribe so you don't miss out on new episodes, leave a review, and share with your friends in the beauty industry. Beauty Pro Wellness Podcast is produced and crafted by Wonder Podcast Productions.